And now I also want to recommend the book of... Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hugo with It. Today I wanted to talk to you about super fast-paced books. These are page turners. You are not going to be able to put them down. I've got like 1 or 2 thrillers. A lot of them here are historical fiction. And I think that goes against the preconceived notions of historical fiction. When I think historical fiction, I think it will be like a long story. I'll be invested in the characters. But I don't think this is going to be like a really fast book and really easy to flip the pages. I don't think that. And yet, I've got several of them here that I need to share with you. So let's get into it. So first up, I need to tell you about The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This really is like a soap opera. It's a soap opera. I mean, we do have 7 husbands that we need to get through. And this follows a movie icon in the 50s named Evelyn Hugo. And she is very gorgeous. She's beautiful. She's an actress in Hollywood during this time, which is very, very difficult. I mean, look at us now looking at Hollywood, and there's finally changes being made where misogynistic men who are taking advantage of women who want careers in Hollywood are finally being held accountable. Well, that did not happen with women in the 50s, that's for damn sure. So Evelyn Hugo is an actress during this time. She's trying to make a name for herself, and she's trying to navigate it. So there is a fair amount of manipulation that she feels that she is required to do. Some of it she is required to do, but sometimes she does things that aren't so nice. She is not the most likable character of all characters I've read. However, I was rooting for her the entire time, and it really does, you fly through this book because there's so much going on. There's so many men and relationships, and I loved it. I really, really loved it. So I definitely recommend that one for a fast-paced book. I would also recommend The Silence for a fast-paced book. This is a horror book. I don't have the physical copy with me right now because I lent it to my buddy Paul, who also loves horror. It's so nice when you meet friends in real life that also enjoy horror, either horror like movies or books. I basically forced him and my other friend Sandra to read Bird Box, and they both liked it, and so he's reading The Silence right now. And The Silence is like a new to horror book, I would say. It's not overly scary to me, but I read a lot of horror, so but it was really fun, really fast-paced. And this is about a family who have a daughter who is deaf, and they are forced to flee their homes because there are these creatures that have taken over the world. A group of people were doing some sort of, I think, architectural dig, and they, I guess, opened up this nook in the earth where hundreds of thousands of these creatures came out, and they hunt by sound. So if you make a sound, they'll find you and kill you. And it is a fast-paced book about a family trying to flee and get away and find safety. And do they find safety or not? And it really reads like a movie. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this book was transformed into a movie with Emily Blunt and her husband. And why can't I remember the friggin' name of the movie? I hate that. It just came out recently. I will put that in the comment or the description box below, I should say, because I can't remember it off by heart. Anyway, that was made into a movie, and you really could because it's so fast-paced. Okay, I would also recommend to you And Then There Were None by Agatha Christie. This is a classic about 10 strangers who are invited to this mansion by this person that they somehow know, they're not sure quite how, but they're invited to this mansion to stay for, I believe, a week. And it's beautiful. They arrive, and then one by one they're being killed off, and you find out who is killing them off and why. And it's such a fun book because no one can trust anyone, because one of them in this group of 10 is the killer, and it's really, really riveting and addictive, and I absolutely loved this. I think I read it in 2 days because I just couldn't put it down. I would also highly recommend that you read The Kitchen House by Kathleen Grissom. I adored The Kitchen House. This made it to my favorite books of 2017 because it was just so good. And this is full of drama. In this book, we follow two characters. We follow a little Irish girl who's moving with her family from Ireland to America, to settle in America. Her family, much of her family dies. She is taken in by a slave owner, and she's basically set up to work with the slaves. She lives with the slaves in the kitchen house, and they become her family. So we follow her. We also follow another girl who is half black and half white. Her mother is a slave, and her father is the slave owner. And so she's kind of in two worlds, and yet, you know, people at the bakehouse, they all treat her like she is a slave. And it is heartbreaking at times. Well, a lot of the time it is heartbreaking. But I cared so much for these characters. I can't even tell you. There are so many characters in this book that I will always have a little place in my heart. It's very similar for me to The Book Thief in terms of characters that I'll always love and want the best for, even though I find out what happens to most of these characters in this book. Yeah, you really just feel for them. So I would definitely recommend that you go and read The Kitchen House if you haven't already, and you like historical fiction. I also want to recommend the Book of Negroes. Now, I have to say, I haven't finished this. I'm 100 pages in, but in these 100 pages, I am telling you every single page, either something major is happening in the plot, or we're learning something major about our main character, Aminata. It is kind of insane. I don't know how Lawrence Hill is doing this. This is a large book. It's about, yeah, like nearly 500 pages, so not that large. But I'm telling every single page? How is he doing this? I'm blown away so far. This, I would be shocked if this didn't end up being a 5-star read for me, because wow. And this follows a little girl in Africa who is taken from her village, kidnapped, and she is made to march to the ocean, get on a slave ship, and she's sent to America. I am just still at the place where she's on the ship. It is hard to read at times, but it is so good. It is so well written. I love Aminata. It starts out and she's reflecting back on her life, and so you follow her from her childhood all the way to her at 80 something. Loving it. So I also, okay, I have talked so much about The Cabin at the End of the World that I feel like all of you are probably like, stop. Okay, we know that you love the book. But I just wanted to do a little shout out for The Cabin at the End of the World for fast-paced books. I mean, that book is so gripping. It is written like a movie where you can't put it down because so much is going on. And it's about a family where there are people outside their cabin who are saying, we just need your help to save the world. We're not going to hurt you. And yet they're wielding these very scary weapons that they made themselves. It's so disturbing and gripping. This is horror. If you don't like horror, please do not read this book because it's very graphic. But I couldn't put it down. So those are the fast-paced books that I would very, very much recommend to you. Let me know in the comments below if you have any suggestions for people looking for really gripping storylines that are just page turners, ultimate page turners. I would love to know, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!